Hello everybody. Today I would like to speak to you about the essential problems that most companies meet, which is raising money. When you raise money, basically you have normally two ways to do it. Either through equity, then the investors become your creditors of results, not knowing exactly what they're going to get. Or second way that you have so far is to be creditor or through a bond issue or through a debt issue, and then these investors are, let's say, creditors of a certain amount of money at a certain time. Here in the room is Mr. Jim Macy. Mr. Jim Macy, 20 years ago, came with a great idea that was called cinema shares. And cinema shares was basically a way to securitize movies. For various reasons, this thing didn't take off, because it was not recognized by SEC, because it was the beginning of the internet, because Gene himself had other things to do. I basically, without knowing, continued in his way and basically invented a new type of securities. This is not crypto. So forget all the crypto world for a moment and just think that our platform called NASDAQ, our platform called CBOE do not disappear overnight. Nobody can hack into your wallet and nobody can basically take your money away just because they are smart kids of 16 years old with a computer and an internet connection. What I have created is a new type of securities of three types. These are basically intellectual property securities. They can finance any movie, and for the medtech people, they can finance any technology. When you finance through that way, your balance sheet doesn't add any debt, and you're not diluting your equity. What you're doing is giving a piece of the revenue of the company. What is great when you're an investor and you invest in intellectual property securities, you find yourself with something interesting. Companies go bankrupt, you don't care. The thing is mismanaged, you don't care. What you care about is you're going to keep an ownership in the intellectual property you invested in. I have a Franglish accent, and sometimes the fact to have a Franglish accent diminishes the capacity to basically communicate appropriately. So I brought here a video that I'm going to ask you to watch carefully, because this video can help you finance your technology, your movie, or any type of intellectual property such as a book, such as any registered type of intellectual properties. The only thing it cannot do is finance trade secrets, because as trade secrets are by definition not registered anywhere, the investor would not know what he ends up with in his hands. So therefore, we will not do it. We are not completely ready right now. We are still looking for $25 million, but with the number of players that there are around us, we have 9 groups interested in giving them to us. So it probably will not be long till we put our financing together. We also will be ready since January 1st to finance a number of movies, and already, thanks to Mr. Richard Maldonado and to Mr. John Kevin Robinson, we already have several movies that are amounting to about 1.1 billion to be financed through that system. We have agreements pending with NASDAQ and with the Chicago Board of Option Exchange, and we will not be long before we have another one with the Miami Stock Exchange. Now, if I can ask to start the video, I will get you rid of my Franglish accent. Thank you for your attention.
Welcome to the world of intellectual property securities, a revolutionary new way to value, monetize, and operate intellectual property and fund new IP of all kinds. Intellectual Property Securitization Corporation expects to launch its IPO on NASDAQ in 2024. Its ticker symbol will be IPSE. Historically, the first form resembling intellectual property securitization was the Bodie bond, also known as the Pullman bond. These bonds were misconstrued in the press and the media as intellectual property securitization. The IP was then used as a guarantee of a normal loan. It was thus collateralized intellectual property obligations. Past securitizations have all been debt instruments or guarantees of debt instruments, but IP securities are assets that have intrinsic value. As such, this new asset class is covered by existing securities law. Inspired by the Real Estate Investment Trust, Mark Deschanel conceived the Intellectual Property Investment Trust by simply replacing real estate by intellectual property. It was the first form of real intellectual property securitization, though an indirect one, as it was done through a vehicle, the trust. IPSE is the culmination of 25 years worth of work that began in 1998 by Mark Deschanel, its creator, developing a new process of direct securitization. This method is protected by a business process patent owned and further sold to Market Street IP and will be licensed to IPSE exclusively for use in the entertainment field and for implementation of an intellectual property securities market sector on a securities market such as NASDAQ, CBOE, or MIAX. This method transforms intellectual property assets into digital assets called IP securities that can be listed and traded on public financial markets to raise capital, determine value, create transparency, and generate liquidity. In doing this, IPSE is creating an entirely new asset class of IP securities, allowing for the fractionalization of ownership of any intellectual property and or its associated revenues in a highly flexible yet controllable format, backed by the certainty of decades of securities case law to protect its owners, issuers, and investors. The most obvious and immediate applications include the creative fields involving copyright, such as movies, music, and publishing, and the industrial fields where patents are prevalent, such as pharmaceuticals and technology. The applications and related opportunities for growth are endless. The unique innovation behind IPSE fundamentally changes the concept of securitization, from traditionally being a debt-related process to instead securitizing an asset directly. Intellectual property, often referred to as IP, is intangible property that stems from creativity, protected by patents, trademarks, and copyrights. In 2021, IP-intensive industries contributed 35% of US GDP, amounting to more than $5 trillion US dollars. More than 40 million jobs are supported by IP-sensitive industries, more than a quarter of the US workforce. Income-generating IP is already estimated to account for more than a third of the total market value of all publicly listed companies in the US and is continuing to grow rapidly. Even so, this estimate ignores all value of intellectual property that does not generate verifiable income, such as inactive patents, copyrights, and trademarks.